What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're taking a first look at the Nike METCON 10. All right, so the training gods have smiled down upon me and managed to get me a pair of the upcoming Nike METCON 10s a little bit early. We're about a month out or so from the release, or what I think is supposed to be the release, which is early August. It's supposed to be like August 1st, but don't quote me on that because these release dates get shifted around a little bit sometimes. So today we're going to be taking a look at the METCON 10, and I'm going to give you my first impressions about the construction and build quality, how it differs from the METCON 9, and then we're going to take it into the gym and do a workout and give you some commentary while I'm doing the workout. The original METCON 1 released in 2015. It's been 10 years since the original release. METCON 9 had a 2-year life cycle, came out in 2023, lasted all throughout 2024. They released the METCON 1 OG in place of actually coming out with the METCON 10 last year. But now we finally have the METCON 10 in 2025. Okay, that's enough of me blabbering. Let's talk about the shoe. At first glance, there's a lot of similarities in the way that the shoe is shaped to the METCON 9, and I'm going to assume that they're on the same tooling and the same last, though there are some differences between the way that the two shoes are shaped. They're very similar, but there are some differences. We have a new mesh material around the toe box vamp of the shoe. It's very similar to the mesh that was on the Zoom METCON Turbo 2. And then on top of that mesh, which is pretty much open around the lateral side of the toe box, there's actually more overlays that give the shoe structure. It's kind of hard to see on the white shoe, but there's an overlay around the toe bumper on the medial side. And there's a few lines of haptic print that extend out from the medial side and cover that side. The lateral side on the toe box is for the most part open, and that same overlay is on the medial side as well. Probably to give the shoe structure and of course a little bit of protection against rope climbs, you have this new, I think they call it like an A-frame structure system. Don't quote me on that, but it extends up in the shape of an A on both sides of the shoe and also acts as an eye stay. Now, I haven't put these shoes on yet, but just looking at it, they already look a ton more breathable than the METCON 9s, which were notorious for running super hot. Now, coming around to the back part of the shoe, we have a synthetic leather material, and the ankle collar is fairly well cushioned. The foam in there is actually kind of dense, and at the back part of the shoe, it looks like we have a pretty low cut heel. There's a good amount of foam at the very back here, so I'm thinking heel slip is going to be mitigated from that. I actually haven't had heel slip issues with the last few METCONs since they went to a non-drop-in midsole, so I'm hoping that stays the same with this shoe. At the very back part of the shoe, we have a TPU heel clip for handstand push-ups and also to stabilize the heel. It has the METCON name written on it. And then you've got a little bit of rubber that comes back from the outsole of the shoe. Now, taking a look at the tongue, which is revised for this shoe, we have some of that same mesh, but we also have a new little trick here. And that's that you can tuck your laces away into this little pocket. Very similar to the Strike Haze, or what Strike has been doing with their shoes for a long time. You can tuck it in the front, or you can tuck it in the back part. You can just flip this panel over here and you can tuck them in and get them out of the way that way, which is a cool little functionality detail. I think it works better already than the Velcro lace lock that they had on the last few models. The Velcro would just destroy your laces, and I didn't think that was the best way to secure your laces when you're running or doing double unders or anything like that. This is much more easier to actually want to use as well, because all you have to do is just stuff them in the front, and they just stay there. On this shoe's METCON, we have React X foam, which is an injection molded TPE and EVA blend midsole. I'm gonna assume that they retained the 4mm drop, but I haven't put these shoes on just yet. I'll probably go over that when I start lifting with them. But I don't see why they would have changed it from the METCON 9 to this shoe. So React X foam is something that we've seen on running shoes, and we've seen it on the more popular slides and clogs, but it's not necessarily something that you would envision being in a training shoe when you would want stability at the forefront. But as we know, foams can just be tweaked and tuned, and they could really fit any situation that you want to put them in. So I'm hopeful that this foam is going to be cushioned enough to absorb impact from plyometric movements and running, but also dense enough to hold up under the weight of your lifting movements. Now, taking a look at the outsole of the shoe, we have a couple different rubbers broken up into different sections. You have the forefoot, the midfoot, and the heel. And the forefoot and the heel obviously have the same rubber. It's the 004 sticky rubber. And then you have the midfoot, which is a tinted rubber, which I'm gonna assume is harder wearing because that's the area that the rope makes contact with your shoe. It's actually sharper on the lateral side and a bit more radiused on the medial side, probably for grip, and then smoothness for when you're doing rope descents. The forefoot has a triangular tread pattern, and then it's got some breaks in it for flexibility purposes. Then you have the midfoot of the shoe, which there are really no grooves or anything, obviously, because you don't want that to be that flexible. And then the tread pattern continues to be the same. You can actually see some of the React X foam through it, and then it says React X at the very bottom. Coming down to the heel part of the shoe, you can see the Hyperlift insert through the very bottom, and it's still made out of that TPU material. I'm gonna assume that the back heel clip and the insert is all just one piece, and it's inserted in there, just embedded into the foam to stabilize the heel. And then you've got more rubber at the heel part, which is, I mean, it really feels like the same as the forefoot. The heel and the forefoot are noticeably broken off from the midfoot rubber, which I'm assuming is gonna make the shoe a little bit more flexible, though it doesn't feel like the heel wants to give very much at all. And just from like looking at the shoe, it kind of has the same kind of like concave shape as the METCON 9 did. And I'm gonna assume that that is done on purpose so that like when you're putting pressure down, you're putting mainly pressure throughout the middle of the shoe, and then the shoe will like expand out to grip the ground better. I'm gonna assume that that is something that they planned on purpose, but I don't actually know for sure. Okay, so one of the biggest complaints that I had with the METCON 9 was the fact that they were very heavy. They were like 14 ounces, which I guess nowadays is not very heavy. It's kind of like the average, but it's still something that I don't really care for. Like, I really prefer lighter training shoes, and that's something that Nike went and fixed with the METCON 10s, because these are actually back to being a fairly light training shoe. Actually, a very light training shoe by today's standards. These clocked in at 12 ounces, which I think was like 341 grams. For a training shoe nowadays, that is light. Anything under 13 ounces to me at this point is light. This is a men's size 10.5, and almost everything else is in the 14s all the way up to the 16s. So I've really applaud Nike for listening to the feedback and fixing it with the METCON 10s. All right, so moment of truth. We're gonna try on the METCON 10s for the very first time. I have had these shoes for a couple days now, and it's really taken a lot for me to not put them on before I made this video. So here we go. I've got my METCON 9s on my left foot, and I'm putting the METCON 10s on my right foot. My initial impression right now is they come pretty snug, like the laces are done a little bit too tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up the laces a little bit. But right now, what I can already tell you is that they are definitely more snug fitting than the METCON 9, which some would say fit on the larger side. Like the METCON 9 to me always felt a little bit big in a size 10.5, and the METCON 10s are noticeably smaller in size. They are definitely not as wide, and that's one of the differences that I noticed looking at the shapes of the shoes and just overall like size of the shoe. You can tell that the METCON 10 is smaller than the METCON 9. If I lined everything up like perfectly, or what I think is perfectly, the METCON 10 is just a smaller shoe in general. So I'm going to assume that this one might need sizing up depending on who you are and if you had a wider foot. The METCON 9, having both of these shoes on, is no doubt the wider shoe, but it's also just like overall just a bigger shoe in general. Now I think I have to move around and break these things in a little bit because right now they are a little bit snug. It feels like underfoot there's a lot more foam, which I already thought like the METCON 9 had a decent amount of foam, but the METCON 10s, they feel like they're pretty substantial underfoot. Another thing that I'm really noticing is that the medial side, it feels very prominent. Like you can feel this part of the midsole pressing up on your foot. It's not sharp at all in any spot, but it feels like the shoe just has like arch support. Now the heel fit's pretty good. I don't think there's any heel slip with this shoe. I really got to get them on and like tighten them up before I could really comment about that. But otherwise, I think if you wanted a similar fit to METCON 9, you might have to go with a half size up. These are both 10.5s on my feet, and the METCON 9s are just like they're noticeably wider and they're noticeably bigger than the METCON 10s are. All right, so now it's time to head to the gym for my workout. We've got some power cleans for my strength work, and then for the METCON, we've got a combination of front squats and pull-ups. So I mentioned that these run a little bit smaller, a little bit more narrow than METCON 9, but METCON 9 kind of felt like it was just big in general. I still think a lot of people are going to be just fine in these shoes, but if you like the METCON 9 because of how wide they were, then that's where I think you might run into a little bit of an issue, because the METCON 9s are super wide. I never tried them in a half size down, but I almost feel like I could have gotten METCON 9s in a half size down and it would have been fine. Otherwise, the foam feels pretty good. Having the METCON 9 on versus these, the METCON 9 definitely felt a little bit more dense, whereas these feel a little bit on the softer side. Not like soft where they're gonna detract from lifting, but just softer than METCON 9. For me, I think the fit is still pretty good. Like they fit me like just fine. I'd actually say that these fit me perfectly compared to METCON 9. I don't have a super wide foot, so sometimes like the wideness bothers me because it just feels like my feet are swimming around inside the shoes. Honestly, these things feel a lot like METCON 7s. I guess just from memory, they feel a lot like METCON 7s. I gotta get those on simultaneously with these to really know. Truth be told, I actually kind of like the fit of these. I think fit is like one of the main considerations when looking at shoe. All shoes are pretty good nowadays, to be honest with you. Like, you can do pretty much anything, and any of the even like mid-tier shoes, like not takedown models, you can do a lot with those shoes nowadays. Not everybody needs flagship shoes. So really, whatever fits you best, it's probably gonna be the best option for you. You shouldn't really be obsessing too much about like how stable shoes are, maybe a little bit how flexible, but you know, everybody has their own tolerances on those things. Like if you look at like the METCON 9, it does everything you need it to do. Like it doesn't maybe excel in anything other than the fact it's a pretty stable shoe. But it does everything. It's not like terribly not flexible. It breathes not very well. That's probably the biggest thing that sucks about it, is it's not very breathable. And probably can't rope climb that much in it because it'll burn out the outsole. But if you don't rope climb, it's probably not that big a deal. And if all you do is lift, then the breathability doesn't really matter that much. It's a hot day. It's like 85 degrees out right now, and I can feel my feet getting hot, but not like so uncomfortably hot where it bothers me like the METCON 9. A little sloppy on that one. First one was okay. Second one didn't feel like I got good extension. My right has a little bit of heel slip. Not uncommon for me. I usually get some kind of heel slip. I got really shallow heels, and my right ankle is kind of messed up. I got a lot better of an extension on that second one. Okay, that was okay. I'm noticing that like as I'm wearing these more, they're breaking in more and they are becoming wider. Like I might have to relace my right shoe because it feels loose now. Ugh. First one was short like a mother. Second one was short a little bit, but felt better than the first. First one like noticeably short. Now I know you're wondering what kind of shorts I have on, what kind of shirt I have on. This is the Alpha Toro, I think it's the lightweight shorts, and these are super good. They got an elastic waistband, they got all the pockets you need, super durable and really lightweight. They have like a heavier short that's a little bit more durable, but honestly these feel like they could take a beating just fine. They don't have liner, so I've got liner. None of them come with liner. And then I've got the 10,000 versatile shirt. This is a size large, and this is like the something prospect green, which is more yellow than green. And then the shorts I have on in medium, but I could probably get away with a large because it's a little tight on me. First one was good. Second one, big jump back, but it's all right. I hate to say it, but they perform exactly like how you think they would. One thing that I will say though is that they're much more flexible at the heel. Like way more flexible. Like there's still a little bit of resistance at the heel, but way more flexible than anything that had a straight up hyperlift insert in it. Good. I kind of landed weird with my right. Another thing that I didn't think I mentioned when I was going over the shoes is that the contact area it looks a little bit smaller than METCON 9. The outriggers don't stick out as much as they did. Even the heel, the little like hexagon shape, isn't as prominent as it was on the METCON 9s compared to the 10s. But the ground contact is still very good. It still feels very planted. Whoa, short. I got a strong extension. I just felt like it was one speed throughout, which is too controlled and no acceleration towards the end. I still went up. I definitely caught it low in my front rack, but not the best one for sure. Not blaming the shoes, definitely me. The shoes, I can already feel like I could do anything in these. Like, I mean, I could do anything and anything, but like these shoes, they feel competent. Like, I don't feel like they're detracting from my lifts. Even though they have the React X midsole, which is supposed to be a little bit softer, it's used in like recovery shoes and running shoes, it's dense in this application. They could be a little bit more breathable. They're not terribly bad, but they could be a little bit more breathable. The fit I really like, because they're just like, my feet aren't swimming in them. The grip is really good on these, especially in the forefoot and heel. That gum is nice. Oh. Another thing is, I feel like I wouldn't hate myself if I had to run or had to do a ton of burpees or had to do a ton of box jumps, because they feel agile on my feet. I want to say more of like a Rad 1 feel to them. The midsole isn't as soft as V2, but it's not that dense. It's more comfortable for a training shoe. Oh, that was better. That was the best one today. So that means we're going up. I try not to get too enamored with shoes like when I first get them, but like I like these. I like that they're a little bit less clunky. They're a lot more flexible. I wish they could be more breathable for sure. The grip is very good. The midsole density is nice. It's not harsh like METCON 4. Similar to METCON 7 and 8. And softer than METCON 9, but it doesn't feel like it's dead. Okay, that's a good way to end today. Now I gotta do this workout, which is front squats and pull-ups. Don't laugh at my pull-ups.